Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Campbell's Coins. In this video, we're going to be looking at 5 things that I feel make a coin valuable. So stay tuned. Now, any one of these 5 things that I'm about to mention can make a coin valuable, but a combination of these things can make a coin extremely valuable. So let's get to my top 5 list. The first is error coins. Now, an error coin is essentially a misprint that occurs when the coin is being minted at a mint facility. There are double die obverse, double die reverse, repunched mint marks, and repunched mint mark can be a S over an S, a D over an S over an S over an S. There's just so many varieties. Specifically, it's anything that kind of stands out from a normal coin. Now, most of these errors require a microscope, and I list that microscope down in the description below of the one that I use, and you can pick that up on the link that I have listed below. And this is really good for picking out some of these errors. Now, most of the double die errors they aren't worth a whole heck of a lot if you have to zoom in to like 50 or 75 magnification. Most of them could be seen at 10 times magnification. Those are your really popular and really valuable mint errors. Now, some other errors, like some of these, don't require a microscope, and that could be a clipped planchet, incorrect planchet, die cracks, misaligned dies, broad strike, strike through, brockage, just to name a few. And these are pretty obvious to see. Also, incorrect planchet. You could have some silver planchets that were used when they should have used clad planchets, and those are typically extremely rare and also extremely valuable. Specifically, like this 1971 D half dollar, these were supposed to be made out of clad planchets, but a few 40% silver planchets that were left over made it through and were used making some of these. You can tell by weighing the coin. The silver planchet coins are always going to weigh more than their clad counterpart. If you find an error coin, it's typically worth a heck of a lot more than the face value, especially if it is made out of silver or gold. But this isn't always the case, as there are many copper penny errors, even just penny errors that are worth a ton of money just because of their errors. Well, the second thing that makes a coin valuable is the mintage. Coins are not minted at the same rate year after year after year. These numbers fluctuate, and some mints don't produce as many as another mint, and some years are much lower than other years. For instance, the 1950 D Jefferson nickel only saw 2.7 million minted during that year at the Denver Mint. Now, compared to other years' mintages, which saw tens, even hundreds of millions minted, this is relatively low. And because it's relatively low, it's highly sought after. And this demand for it drives up the price incredibly. Now, older coins were produced in much lower quantities than modern coins, and that's due to the population being also smaller. For instance, this 1914 S wheat penny only saw 4.1 million minted. To compare, a 2018 penny has 4.6 billion minted. It's quite the big difference. Now, before I get into the top 3 reasons that I feel make a coin valuable, if this video has given you any sort of value, please go ahead and hit that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Now let's get back to the list. Now, the third thing that I feel makes a coin valuable is toning. It may be smaller compared to some of these other reasons on here. But toning actually will greatly affect the value of a standard coin. For instance, some Morgan dollars will have gorgeous toning on them and may be only worth $100 in blast white condition, let's say MS63 proof-like. But if that same coin with that same grade had gorgeous toning on the obverse and the reverse, that coin could be worth $400 to some collectors or some buyers. So it just depends on what people are interested in and what kind of like the fad is for the specific day. Now, the second thing that makes a coin valuable is the metal content. The metal your coin is made out of will greatly affect its value. Coins minted in gold and silver are very valuable just because of their metal. You can have a gold coin that is in really crappy condition, but it's still worth its melt value to gold, which at today's price is around $1,400. So just because it doesn't look great doesn't mean it's not valuable. There are other things also that will affect its value here, other metals that will affect the value. For instance, there are some silver planchets that were used, like I'd mentioned previously, the 1971D. There's also silver planchets that were used 1977D half dollars leftover from the 1976 bicentennial. So it just depends on a lot of things. Likewise for pennies. In 1943, they switched over to a steel planchet because they needed the copper for the war efforts. Well, there were some copper planchets left over that got stamped 1943, and because of that, those pennies are worth an incredible amount of money. Also, when they transitioned from 98% copper in 1983 to 2% copper, there were some 98% copper planchets that were minted in 1983, and those pennies that made it through and out into circulation are worth a good amount of money as well. And you can find those by weighing them, because the copper planchets will weigh, or the mostly copper planchets will weigh a lot more than today's pennies. Now, the fifth thing that makes your coin valuable is perhaps the most important, and that is the condition of the coin. Condition is extremely important and will always affect the value of coins. Now, there are also some examples out there where there are either billions and billions of coins produced, so there's going to be tons of them at very high grades, or there could be very low minted coins produced, and even a low graded coin will be highly valuable. But generally speaking, a high graded coin will be worth quite a bit of money. There are probably millions of examples of high graded coins selling far above face value. You have pennies selling for hundreds of thousands. You have, gold coins selling for just tons of money. Pennies selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think that should get everyone's attention right there. Now, of course, as with anything, there are some caveats here. You can have coins that were produced in enormous quantities, and because of that, there are many high-graded examples out there. So those coins are not going to be worth as much. It could be graded MS68 and it's still only worth $16. Now, a coin that has a face value of a penny is only worth 16 bucks. That's still a high dollar amount or a high percentage above its value, but any other coin in that grade with lower mintages usually will go for a lot more than that. And the reverse is true. You can have a really crappy coin, but because it's from a specific mint, a specific year, and that specific year had very low mintages, that coin could be worth a ton of money even in its crappy condition. And I'm talking about very fine to good, those types of conditions. I think it's 1983 Morgans. I could be wrong there, but Morgans in that year were very few and far between. I think they only saw like 100,000 minted, and many of those have been lost over the years. So finding one just in good condition, and good is not really high up on the grading scale will fetch you thousands of dollars just for that Morgan dollar. Now, most of the time, if you find a Morgan in just good condition, you're lucky to get maybe like 15 bucks for it. But because this coin was minted in very low numbers and very few survive to this day, that coin is worth a heck of a lot more. I guess my point here is, don't dismiss a coin just because it's not in the greatest of shape. There could be some other things. So you have to look at the year for the mintage, the mint that it was located, or excuse me, the mint that it was minted at. And these are some really important factors for determining if the coin is valuable. Going along the lines of what will affect the value of a coin, believe it or not, cleaning a coin will negatively affect your coin's value, dropping its value 20 to 50% in some cases. So don't ever clean your coins. And I will have a video also out eventually on how to detect a coin that has been cleaned. All right, folks, that wraps it up. Those are my 5 things that I feel make a coin very valuable. If you like this video, please hit that like button. It helps me out a ton. If you aren't subscribed already, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button and hit that little bell notification too. It lets you know when I post a video. Thank you again so much for watching. This is Campbell's Coins, and that is my 2 cents.